Hello. I'd like to call this meeting to order, 5:30, October the 1st. Thank you all for coming. Commissioner Sullivan is going to give us the invocation.
Bow our heads. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Lord, we continue to lift up and pray for those that are affected by Hurricane Helene and the flooding, Lord, East Tennessee, North Carolina, other states. Lord, pray that you would just be with them, the devastation that they're going through right now. Lord, that you would meet their basic needs and just give them your peace. Pray that you would just be with us as we finish out our day. Surround us with your love and your protection, Lord. Be with us tonight as we make decisions about how to spend this money most effectively to benefit the people of Sumner County. We thank you for all involved and for all that you do for us and the way that you lead, guide us, and direct us, and that you bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So if I could get a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have an agenda. Recognition of the public. We have 3 names on the list. Mr. Mark, I can't read your last name.
Oh, mine, Harple Road?
Thank you. Would you like to speak first?
Yeah, that's great. From a speaking standpoint, do I stand, do I sit at the end of the table?
You could, you know what? A lot of people are comfortable at the end of the table. You
I'm
can
good,
stand
Tom.
wherever you'd like.
Yeah, that's fine. Appreciate
Excellent.
it. Well, I'm Rod Harple Road. I'm the market president for High Point Health, with the Sitchin St. Thomas. Thanks for having you. This is kind of a really cool story to what we kind of started. So the Opioid Abatement Grant proposal, actually what was kind of neat is a group of us kind of came together and more of like a coalition standpoint to kind of look at what could we do to kind of help the problems that are going on in this community. And it wasn't just one of us, it was a group of us with different entities, from whether it was not only the hospital side, but EMS, also you look at the health department. We have a lot of leaders in the community too that already help this population. And we came together and we said, how can we build something that we really can make a difference and drive some outcomes for patients? So, next slide. So, pretty much, if you want a little bit out, the hospital has been around for a long time. We've changed our names a couple times, and we're now a part of Ascension. But we're still a 165-bed hospital. And our issue is we have 2 emergency rooms, one at Sumner Station and one here locally. We see about 30,000 at our local ER here, and then we see additional probably around 13,000 over at Sumner Station. So good footprint into the market. And one of the big things that we started looking at when we first sat down is why Sumner Regional, and why are we kind of pulled in the center of this piece? Well, if you look EMS has about 574 runs, and about 13 of those were going to different hospitals. But when we looked at the overdose population, the crazy thing about it was that 50% of that volume was coming to Sumner Regional here locally. So we started to look at what would be the concept to take those patients that we have the highest population are coming to, and try to figure out a way, how do we support those and support the community? And really one of our bigger driving points, and you'll go to the next slide, is there'll be a couple concepts we want to talk about, but one big one that we looked at is a nurse navigator. When we start thinking about how to support, and this concept is not uncommon. We use nurse navigators in the cancer program, so when a patient comes in and they get sick, we're able to help them throughout the process, get to their appointments, go to different like specialists based on what's going on. So we kind of use navigators as really one of the key blocks to making sure the flow of patients. So when we came with this concept, we were like, one of the main pieces for this program to be successful is we've got to have a nurse navigator, and it's got to be centered at where most of the patients are flowing through, and that is in the emergency room at Sumner. And the goal here was really to be that same concept. They're going to be the navigator who is going to take the patient in, not only in a direct care model, but be that individual that, as you can see, navigate their care and try to drive them to the different recovery pieces to kind of help them down this process instead of them getting lost in the system when they come in. They tend to be discharged home. They have no one kind of caring for them to make sure that we're capturing them and watching them through the process. Additionally, you could see home induction, follow-up support. We also realized that we needed to have a navigator that also did some of the data pieces, because one of the big things we're all trying to do is track what's going on in the population. Where is, in some cases, the drugs coming into the community, where we're seeing high risk stuff. So not only being able to take that data and put it into different areas. So really a big piece. And then we started talking to ourselves. So we would have this navigator in place, but they also would be tied to some of the other facilities that are here that are supporting us, to make sure that they had, where we could call and send them to another facility. We could call to a treatment place. But one of the interesting pieces is still, one thing about patients, they come in 24/7, still having a catch base where we utilize the Department of Mental Health, Buffalo Valley, and some of those where not only when we're not there at night, that navigator, they come back in the morning, they can re-engage what's going on with that patient in transition. So if you look at the next slide, what we're trying to say, we asked ourselves, listen, if we are taking this money, what can we do to drive improvement in the community, and what are really our goals? And if we look at our strategies, one of the big thing, number one, is we want to save lives. I mean, I think I'm a nurse at background. My healthcare piece of me says the right thing to do is always, what can we do to save lives, number one. And a lot of the research show is engaging on the population as they first come in the door, and they feel like they have a sense of belonging, and that we're connecting them throughout the community is a big driver. But we also said, it's bigger than, in some cases, as you look at the financial side. EMS does a lot of runs, and they have to go back out and pick individuals up, maybe from that overdose, or also because they have to be brought back to the hospital for a lapse. Creating an infrastructure where the patients are being monitored and more of a controlled environment reduces the EMS support opportunity. Also, we want to drive through this process, increase treatment opportunities. As you'll see some of the funding that's in the main packet, that we will be able to actually use some of that to send patients to treatment opportunities throughout, not only here locally, but in the Nashville regional market, to kind of take care of them, as well as just having a nurse navigator. They follow up, they understand the care. Also, we look at this scholarship. So we've looked at having some opportunities with volunteer behavioral health, where they're going to release some beds so that we actually can send patients to this for what we call overnight or multi-stay, so that we can do some treatment methodology and approach to grow that, or to improve their care. So that's a big piece. We're even looking at long-term adding an adult psych unit at the hospital, because we see the need of that in the community. We already have a general psych unit, but we are looking at a 20-bed unit as well. And so how could we bring that in and take care of those individuals as well, to kind of help with that treatment methodology. So providing information, there's a box of hope that we're wanting to, and it's kind of a packet that has some stuff in it with Narcan, and that we can give to prevent, the high risk, that if they are users, that they have something not only that can realistically save their life, but give them some options on what they, some opportunity for treatment. We also looking at some Narcan vending machines. I have Dr. Lifford, who is our chief medical officer, and also an ER physician. The Narcan vending machines, you hate to think about creating a place where people can get Narcan, because the part that you hate is some people are always concerned that, well, will this be risk for other patients or children never got on it? And of course, Dr. Lifford being here, there's no side effects for that. And Dr. Lifford,
no risk, really, no downside. I mean, it's potential to definitely potential to save lives in our community.
So,
No risk to us.
so creating access points as we're trying to help individuals to get better, that they actually have access to drugs that could potentially save their life as they're going through the treatment process. And then offer, of course, counseling and recovery. I mean, that's one piece that you're seeing. And then reduce crime. And we say that because we see a lot of crime associated to this. But also say from the incarceration side, but we have to transfer patients outside of the market fairly frequently. The police we have to call them, they will take them to these sites. So reducing the amount of volume, having a navigator to manage that is going to save costs from our police traveling in and out of the market. And then that last, the most simple thing, the basic life, having an ability through this grant to have general clothing and things that they need to help support them in the community and help them live as well. So I think when you can go to the next slide, I think we're done. As you look at the phases, the commitment for the 500,000 2 years, the navigator is usually an RN, and I only say that because usually from navigation of care and calling in orders and working with physician, it's usually the best method. It's what we use at the hospital for our service lines. That FTE can anywhere range from $60,000 to $75,000. But if you look at the additional supplies, which will be minimum, I think you're looking at a lot of stuff will be tied into this money. Really what we call the direct treatment care around detox, counseling, referrals to these other facilities that are going to help support the patients. And then our boxes of hope that we give out. And then also our Sumner County overdose map and being able to kind of manage that piece, but also the costs associated with putting the Narcan throughout the community as well. We're looking at some opportunities where we'd be able to buy some of the Narcan at the cheapest price you can use in the hospital's buying power, or you guys would maybe buy it at X. We can get it for probably 1/10 of that, so we can get a large supply to support the community. So I think, to me, as I look at all the great strategies here, I still believe if you don't have someone driving the care model of patients as they come through with the nurse navigator, I think as a group that's here, we all realize that. I know one of our nurse navigators at the hospital for a cancer program can manage up to probably 100 patients at a time that are flowing through there, and really being able to call them on the phone and as easy as, hey, did you make it to your appointment the other day? If you're feeling, having issues, give me a call, or have you, I heard that they started you on this new medication, because the navigator gets to look underneath and see all the different things that are going on. So I think what makes projects successful in my past, and even though I'm from here, I did get a chance to work for the Duke system in North Carolina, and I worked at Haywood County, which was now underwater because from the big flood that came through out of Asheville. The successful projects are driven around the coalition of how many people that are sitting around the table. So this whole process, we will have a governing body that represents people in this room from all different types of healthcare to not only manage what we're doing, but create scorecards and measurement tools that we can come back and show that we are producing outcomes that are positive to the patients, that there's oversight of this FT, that the hospital's not absorbing this FT and any other secondary work other than to support this community, and that governing board will manage that piece. So that's another thing. And back to why it's successful, because when you put EMS in the room and you put the health department in your room and you put all these great partners up here, everybody's thinking about it in a different way. So I think what you'll see is that it will evolve in time. And as funding may or may not stay there, I think if we can build something, I think even the hospital looks at this, how do we in the future take this, even if the funding goes away, and still drive the financial side of this to see if we can drive outcomes in the future for the patients. So, and committee, that is my presentation. Any questions?
You mentioned last, I think, that long term, once this grant would run out, so your goal, the hospital's goal would be to continue to find funding sources?
Yeah, I think when I've kind of looked at it, and now being part of Ascension St. Thomas, you know, we have a little bit with our foundation through the church. We have the ability to do some things that maybe we couldn't do at the old Sumner. So what I brought up is I'm a big Navigator fan. So if we can be successful and show our foundation that we can make this work, then what we would do is absorb that FT into our day of operations, still keep the committee together, because I believe in oversight, and the community needs to know what we're doing, even though that maybe expense has gone away. They need to understand, hey, you guys have created something that's strong. And then we would reach and try to get support from the foundation for the Narcan and the different pieces. So I think it's like any other business model. You've got to show that you're successful, that you build something that will be strong. But I do think it's very good. I think it's set up for success based on the design of the team and what we've kind of put together for it.
I have a question.
Yes,
With
ma'am.
the Navigator, do you see that as a one FTE or two? Are they going to be there like Monday through Friday, 8 hours, or are we looking at?
You know, I think that's where the committee, as we go to hire, we determine I always say you find your highest, because we track every patient that comes in. So if we see our higher risk on, let's say, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, or whatever, that we hire somebody in that functions in probably 4 10-hour shifts, and then we can rotate that. But if not, the days that they're not open, we would use the secondary support that you saw. But one thing about a Navigator is the same way if a Navigator was on vacation or gone, we still got to have backup support, but the Navigator would be able to track everybody that came in, so they would be able to come in, take their sheet, like we know with patients on Monday morning that maybe came in with heart failure that our Navigator needs to see. Even if that patient's discharged, that Navigator would still have the runoff of everything with that patient's doing. They would pick them up on the phone. They would have, because they work for us, they would have HIPAA training, so they'd have access to their chart, so they would know everything that's really kind of going on. So I think we would use it kind of like how we're doing it here, but I think I would probably lean on our team to kind of decide what's the best hours of operation based on when the patients flow through the ER. My gut would tell me Friday and Saturday, but we have not pulled that. Dr. Lipford would probably.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking 410s over the weekend, second shift. That's going to be your highest yield. But like you said, Rod, so someone comes in, these patients right now, we don't have anything to offer them. You know, they come in, they've overdosed, they reverse the overdose, and after a couple hours they sign out. But if that nurse navigator can track them down the following day and say, hey, we've got some treatment options. We can send you to this, this place in Murfreesboro. They've got a bed for you. Or you don't want to do that, well, we can get you some Narcan. Okay, have you thought about doing, So even that, it's good. Just having someone that can follow up on it will be a value.
We want to measure it too. How many lives we were saved, how, I think there can be a metric piece that we can show. I even look at the hospital side. Can we reduce the amount of admissions that would come through the ER that maybe slow down the flow? But I think in the end, it's really about taking care of patients on this end. So I do feel like, could we extend it in the future if the program is really successful? Yes. But I think right now, like I said, how do you take that one FT and probably work it? We'll probably have to pay the person pretty good, and they have to have a special talent. But I also look across the room and think of the people in the room. It's really easy to call someone on the other phone and say, hey, I sent this patient to you yesterday. Oh, you're a part of our board, so you understand. Everything going okay with that? Well, no, they left out about an hour ago, sending them this. Well, let me call them and figure out. So being able to all communicate and kind of track that patient. Some people will walk away from it when we get that, but still the goal is you're never going to be 100%. But if we could even say 30%, I would call that a victory. So I'm interested to see.
And maybe I missed the number, but I think that you said that the EMS runs were 572
Outside of the county.
outside.
To other hospitals, I'm sorry.
I think what I would like to know is how many overdoses are you seeing? Because I don't think that was in there.
Yeah, I think
What do you
it's
think?
in our main deck, and I should know that, but that's why I'm reaching to my wonderful smart people that back me up.
574, 51% were taken to 5.9.
So
So was that-
200 and
So all of those runs were overdose runs?
Mhm.
I see.
yeah, five. Sorry.
That's the part I missed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
They went to different hospitals, and I think they were all like, wow, 50% are coming to us, So
Yeah.
the FTE there probably made the most sense. So you'd be looking
Thank
at 270-ish, total.
Right now, they have 291 runs that went to, at this point in time, is Sumner Regional Medical.
Yeah.
And then the next one that followed up was Hendersonville Medical Center, and that was 185. The furthest hospital away was actually Vanderbilt Medical Children's Center, but there was only 2 that went.
And I would say if we have any pediatric piece, we would definitely heavily on Vanderbilt to engage in that one. Even with Ascension, Ascension's not known for their pediatrics, so we would probably run with Vandy on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is this not something that you guys have already implemented pieces of already?
Really, we haven't been tracking the data on it from our end, and most of the time, I probably would say we probably meet it in the hospital and kind of pushed it on. It wasn't until the data started showing itself that we were like, this is probably a bigger deal than what we realized that it was.
Well, and we sure try to do that. I mean, it's just piecemeal, it's because I work in the ER, and that's the overdoses. And we give them a sheet about treatment options, which is, it's better than nothing, but we don't do the Narcan right now. You can say, hey, you can go get Narcan at CVS, things like that.
Well, Narcan used to not be over the counter either, so we wasn't giving it out, but
Right. But we do bits and pieces of this, just not consistently.
Have you taken it to, you said higher ups and had that conversation at all?
no, because I think, we of course have 90-something hospitals and with Ascension in the middle market. It's probably not been, I think we're all going through the same issue, and I think what they're saying, what I would believe is, do they feel like we can make a difference in this piece? They want to see some data off of the process as well. What I say, if the committee decided to go in a different way, we probably wouldn't go as in deep into it as, the Narcan throughout the community. Would we look at abbreviated FT that we would support? Yeah, I probably think now that I've seen the numbers, I would try to figure out, but it probably wouldn't be to the extent of what we're doing now. Because I'm still, the goal which you're trying to determine, we didn't have a lot of people around the table saying, I'm willing to bring them to, our center, or the health department's giving us some data that we haven't seen. So I don't know. I think there's an opportunity. I'm a big Nurse Navigator fan, so I think there could be a future plan that we would do even if not. It just would probably be a little more abbreviated, smaller portion.
No more questions? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
May I follow up with an answer, please?
Yes.
So if you're looking at the grant itself, I know there was a lot of material to throw at you in the last 2 weeks. There is a study that was done, and in the study, there was 5 hospitals that were looked at, and in that study itself, every single program that was looked at started out as grassroots, meaning that it was funded either by a grant on the local or state or federal level. And then out of those sets, you're looking at 2 that were fully funded by the hospital. The rest are still continuously funded by grants. So looking at this scenario, they would be following the same pattern as the 5 that are in the case study that was given to you.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next speaker is Josh Draper.
Josh Draper, 1015 Lake Road, Westmoreland, Tennessee. Hey guys. So I'm glad Rod went first because this is what I'm talking about. He laid it all out there. From the coalition standpoint, as well as, and I'm also the chair of the subcommittee for substance abuse for the Health Council. I'm also speaking to you as someone who is in long-term recovery, who has dealt with this stuff on a personal level. And Megan and I have poured over this packet, and I think the biggest reason why we are in support of it, it is a holistic approach to tackling this, which is what this money is supposed to be for. It's not just the hospital. We heard about the 51%, 270, whatever, to Sumner Regional, but the heat maps are another big part of this. That allows us to see, okay, maybe they didn't go to Sumner Regional, but I know just from a personal level, I talk to people in recovery all the time, and my phone is always on for anybody that needs help. Whoever this nurse navigator ends up being, they're gonna have me on speed dial, I hope. And we will find a way to get out into the rural parts of the county. And even though Sumner County is growing the way that it is, there's some holes out there. This plan, in my opinion, in the opinion of the coalition, really fills in a big gap. There, I'm somebody who I graduated from recovery court, and it saved my life. But not everybody goes through the court system, and we don't want everybody to go through the court system. This plan is, I think, is a good way to get to people to where, on the hospital side of things, for instance, the box of hope. We've talked about design and everything. We want to keep, there's still a stigma out there right now. We want to be able to provide this stuff to people. The Narcan, I don't know if y'all have seen the Suitors data, the overdose death data, which they do non-fatal as well. But 93 deaths in Sumner County from overdoses in 2021, 61 in 2022. Now, I think that's in large part because of the saturation of naloxone, Narcan, Cloxado, out into the community. We can get more of it out there, and this plan allows us to do that, not only with the boxes of hope, but that's something that we partner with a regional overdose prevention specialist. If for whatever reason we need to get some to somebody quick or train an entire group of people, we have resources to do that too. And that's the biggest positive of this coalition. We may not know all the answers just yet. You don't know what you're going to come up against, but I think this team that's put together right now will figure it out. And we just wanted to throw our support into it. And so if y'all have any questions for me as well, please let me know.
Thank you.
I've got one. So
Yeah.
obviously you're in this every single day. So, but at the end of the day, we've got one pie that we're trying to split up. So if you had, this is, in my opinion, $500,000 is a lot of money. So if you had that money, do you think it would make a bigger impact doing something like this or supporting recovery court or something like that? We've got all these people asking for the same money. So we want to try to figure out what's the biggest impact. So
I understand, and like I said, from somebody who graduated from recovery court, and I was just meeting with recovery court this morning. We're storing some of their stuff in our storage unit. We partner with them on Recovery Fest. We partner with them on all kinds of stuff. I won't say anything to the negative about them. What I do know is this project serves the most amount of Sumner County residents of any plan that I have seen to date. That's what I know. And I have close personal friends who have overdosed and died that went through recovery court, who have not gone through recovery court. I've got a friend that overdosed and died less than a half mile away from Sumner Regional. And, so yeah, I do deal with it every day. I wouldn't be up here talking to you guys if I didn't think that this was a good idea. And I think because of the people that are involved, you've got a lot of people that can get it, and the mobilization of it too. Megan and I are mobile. I know we've got an office and everything, but we're literally all over the county all the time. That is our everyday job. That's what we do. I know the health department the same way. So yes, while the nurse navigator would be in one location, we are going to make sure it gets out to the rest of the county. And I know the recovery court, they do, again, they've saved a bunch of lives, the people that I know. I'll just speak on this, that I think this is the most holistic and comprehensive plan that I have seen to spend this money on, and I think it would be a wise investment.
thank you.
Thank you. We have our final speaker, Haley Bush.
Hi everybody, my name is Haley Bush. I'm the VP of Operations for Volunteer Behavioral Health. I am kind of all over the area, so I've got several different addresses. Just a little bit about Volunteer Behavioral Health and kind of what we do and why this project is really important to us. I think we can all agree that sometimes access to care is the biggest barrier for our people who are struggling with addiction. And we have tried really, really hard to make sure that all of those barriers, we are able to overcome those. So with that being said, Sumner County, currently Volunteer Behavioral Health holds that crisis contract for this county, meaning that we have the crisis assessors that are placed within the hospitals and kind of all around, and we can make referrals to our new detox and crisis stabilization unit that is located in Murfreesboro. Something really big is we accept no insurance. We accept TennCare. We accept commercial insurance. We accept self-pay. We have sliding fee scales. Something else, that we are mentioned here is the Box of Hope, and so that provides access to the intake appointments. It provides access to care management, med management, IOP, along with the detox services. So really, we try to wrap our arms around these people in every aspect that we can, and we really want to meet them where they are at. And a lot of times when they're coming into the hospital or the ER, they don't have insurance or they don't have a lot of treatment options, and we want to be able to provide the options that they are looking for that help them get help, but also, don't make it too difficult for them to be able to access it. We provide a wide variety of services, and there are locations that kind of scatter all around Middle Tennessee, even into East Tennessee. So even if they are visiting here and they end up at Sumner Regional, we can continue that care somewhere else, and we are all the same agency. So again, really, really closing those gaps and improving access to care. Any questions?
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? We'll entertain that. All is well? Excellent. That concludes recognition of the public. New business. We have item A, direct appropriation of partnership grant or release funds for grant appropriations being 5 unique $100,000 awards. Mr. Owens.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so at this time, you actually have 3 options before you. Option number 1 is to recommend a $500,000 direct appropriation to this partnership that has been created. Option number 2 is to release the funding of 5 $100,000 grants. For that to happen, we would be on a cycle that would actually start tomorrow. First round 1. There we go. Oh, I need that for a second. Sorry, I'll give it to you.
You're all good. So I was going to do that.
There we go. In round 2. So looking at it, you have the 2 timelines that are actually in front of you. The 2 timelines both start tomorrow, meaning that I would be advertising release of funds that would be coming up. After that point in time, depending on which direction you all would like to go, we would either try to get the 5 $100,000 scholarships recommended by November, towards the beginning of November, so it actually hit the county commission at the end of November, or we would try to get it in front of budget and the county commission in December. The problem with the one that's labeled as the shortest timeline is if there is not a quorum for the budget committee, or should the county commission move due to the holidays, or if there's bad weather, then we will be in jeopardy of actually missing a deadline date for the state. So that's your first option, is to approve the direct appropriation or recommend. Second option is to recommend one of these. The third option is to table it. And those are the 3 options that are before you tonight.
I'd like to make a recommendation.
Yes.
I like the program, the presentation that was presented. I like all the stakeholders that come to the table. I too had a friend that died right down the street, in seeing distance from the hospital. And he died of it. He was my best friend when I was younger. But so I like the fact that the Narcan will be available. And I like the answer that, long term, you know, if the data provides that this is working, then it would be an ongoing thing. I think it would be very beneficial. So I'd like to make a motion that we fund this program, $500,000.
I would second that. With everything you say, I agree. Can we get a discussion from the sheriff's department? What is your perspective?
I absolutely 100% have nothing but confidence in Josh Draper. And if he stands up before us and says that this is the best program to spend money on, then he's got my support.
How much money is left?
Right now, you got 500,000 that has to be earmarked by January 30th.
And then after that, do we know?
Then after that, you're looking at, can I borrow a pen, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Then after that, you're looking for FY 25/26. We'll be releasing $391,525.52 to go out to the public for grant appropriations. And then we still had retained $500,000 based upon the vote that you all did to retain the funds to see if there was a program for recovery courts and do it in the same manner that we are accustomed to right now, where they would give a presentation. So there's roughly $891,525 left. Thank you.
Any more thoughts?
I have lots of thoughts. I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. Honestly, I like the program as a whole. I love the fact that people are coming together like you were talking about. I have full faith in Josh as well. My concern is it seems like a lot of hopes and dreams and it felt like the answers were, we believe in this so strongly, we don't want to fund it ourselves. Having family members that work for Ascension, I know that they've got the money that they went, and I know that they work in also higher health care, that they could go to them and at least pitch it. And it was that, the response that I got was, we haven't even done that yet. We hand them a piece of paper and we think that's enough right now. And I think $500,000 is a lot of money when you think about Sumner County CASA, when you think about all the Celebrate Recovery, the Recovery Court, all the places that have came to us and begged for $20,000, and now you're basically cutting all of that out to give to one potential partner that in all reality could fund it themselves, or at least a portion of it. And then when the feedback was, if we can't fund all of it, we're going to cut the pieces out that I actually liked, the partnership pieces of the Narcan, it's hard for me to wrap my head around a top tier candidate is going to take a job for 2 years in hopes that it picks up after that. I'm not going to apply to a job knowing that the funding might run out in 2 years. Would you? And that's where I'm at.
Just to rebut a few things.
Yeah.
Or give my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that having all the people at the table is right. Everybody else that applied for a grant was sole source, if you will. It was them. And I don't think that anything on this grant says that they won't consider CASA or Recovery Court or any avenue.
Well, it's not in the budget though.
Well, it's not, but does that mean that they can't make a phone call and say, hey, can you help us out with this candidate? They've got this need that we don't have. That doesn't have to be in the budget, right? Making those connections and communicating with other avenues and all these other organizations.
I guess that's where if I give you $500,000, I hope that you have enough integrity to spend it how you tell me you're going to spend it.
Right, but they're not having to right now CASA in this to make a phone call to CASA
There's not
and see
enough
if they can help.
room in there. Tell me where there's enough room in this budget to have that.
Didn't he say that the nurse navigator could handle 100 patients and make phone calls? I mean, that's their job. is to
Could.
make the resources.
And then how does CASA get that money to fund it? Because it's not in here. That's where I'm at.
That I don't know.
That's where I'm at.
But on the grant employee, we have one right now in the jail funded through the COSAC grant who knows every year it's gonna expire. She actually took our corrections officer test and would take a drastic pay cut when that grant goes away, because that's what she's passionate about. So I think you can get a top tier candidate on a 2-year contract.
Okay, great.
I think you can.
That's awesome. Am I allowed to make motions, Dustin?
No, because you're a non-voting member.
No, we
But-
can't. But we have a motion and a second. I was waiting to call for the vote to see if we all had
Dustin
a
wants to say
chance.
something.
Okay, let me go through a few things for you to hopefully put you at ease a little bit.
Sure.
Number one, if you're worried about the top tier candidate, remember I am grant funded, so you have a doctoral person here that is actually passionate about making sure that people are assisted, as well as making sure the money goes to where it needs to go.
Okay.
Okay, so that one should not be an issue. Number two, if you're looking at it, if you were to look at the application, there is some wiggle room as far as funding goes. I put it in as far as the naloxone because we were for sure exactly what their legal team would say if we could use that. So if the funds aren't used for all of naloxone, there is a caveat in there, number one. Number two, if you also look, I believe it's under the betting cycle, there's additional funds. If somebody wanted to make a motion that said, we would like the caveat in there that says the contract should state that any funds need to be used for maybe nonprofits that are not at the table, you could make that as a motion as well, and I could put that in the contract. There had been talks, which you all are not privy to, when I was able to sit down and listen to them, they were actually looking at potentially expanding the group a little bit, but right now they needed a core group to you all gave me a short deadline date to try to bring in additional funds. This group, the next step is looking at the case studies that I mentioned that I all started primarily with grants. The next step is to actually apply for the state grants, for the state funding. That's coming up in November. It's supposed to be October, they have moved it to November. This group is going to be in a unique situation. If you all give them seed money, they're going to hopefully bring in additional funds, strictly because of two reasons, and I wish Will was here because he was in on the meeting with me. Number one is they're looking at distressed counties. We are not a distressed county at this point in time. Number two, they're looking to fund true partnerships. So it's not like a parent company and it's nonprofit. They're looking at a genuine partnership, which this would be. So that is where we are. And if you're worried about spending money, right now, I would still continue to sit with them. They still have to submit performance metrics, and if anything goes awry, I'll be the first one that would tell you all, because I'm responsible to this board.
Walk me through the caveat that you mentioned again.
So the caveat would be let me put it in time. When we did the policies that came up, we put a policy in there that said any unused funding could be used for AEDs or naloxone for departments. So what you could do is make a motion that says, or try to curb a motion that would say, I support this with the contingency of the group putting additional funds aside for other nonprofits.
It would be unused.
Unused, or if there's a dollar amount that you have in mind, then you could do that. So that way you get what you want, which is, if Costa wants to come to the table, or if Hope or somebody else wants to come to the table, then yes, they can. Going back to the conversations, if you were to pull my emails, you would look that Hope has a naloxone machine. Unfortunately, they don't have any naloxone.
Right.
So if they wanted to come to the table and say, look, can you help us fill our naloxone machine? Then, they're there. We can look and sit down and look to see, can we put it there? So yeah, if that helps you.
I don't think I can edit a motion when it's got
Sorry.
a second though. So I'll have to wait.
You can amend the motion.
Yeah, you can,
Can't you? I think so.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you can amend it even after my second, because we haven't voted.
I would like to amend the motion then, that we put that caveat in, that people that were not at the table yet and there's unused funds can apply for those through them.
And I'll second your motion.
And to
You're-
use the nalox, whatever he just said.
I do have a question.
Justin's right.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
like all of that. But I have a question. So when that decision comes and we're going to put that in a machine, that would be a decision for this new partnership, not for this committee.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify, that's what I heard. Okay.
Yes. So, for example, right now, Hope has their areas. According to the application or the information that was given to you all, right now, Volunteer Behavioral Health would have one machine, as well as Sumner Prevention Coalition. There was talks about maybe looking, once those two machines are up and running, that a third machine would be donated by the hospital, should they see a return of benefits, and then we would have a third machine on top of what Hope has.
And I still like everything. I just have a couple more questions. When do we get performance reports?
Performance reports are on a quarterly basis.
Quarterly?
So they would be, if it's the nurse navigator, they would be submitting us quarterly reports for us to disseminate. Right now, the first quarterly reports, all the contracts that you all had recommended, all the awards you recommended that were approved, all the contracts have been sent out, they've been executed. So the first round will be in October.
6th should be this month.
Yeah.
And then how soon before we see heat maps? Because that's pretty exciting.
So heat maps, if this is approved, then Chief Posh would actually have to access it, the funds, and then we would have somebody from the state actually integrated in. And then anybody that is with the hospital, I would have access, Hal would have access with Health Department. If the Drug Task Force wanted the availability, they would have it as well, including dispatch.
And I'm just thinking for applying more resources in areas.
Yes.
So I asked you how long. You told me.
So it would be January's when the contracts would be fully executed. So if we were to work with Chief, you're looking about March.
Excellent. So I think I second your amendment. So we have a motion and an amendment. And first we'll vote on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, since it's unanimous. Sorry, you don't get to vote.
But we're glad you're here.
We're very happy you're
We
here. Just so
appreciate it.
everybody knows, we're not excluding him. Not him. And then we'll take a vote on the main motion. All in favor?
Aye.
No, and then unanimous. So motion and amendment passes.
And not at this meeting, but in November, should you want, we are making recommendations to the budget committee. So if you would like to turn certain positions that are non-voting into voting, you would need to do so at that time.
At which meeting?
November.
That's not set though, right? The October meeting is the one that was moved, right?
I'd have to go back and look.
All right, so we'll move on to item B under new business, which is 2025 opiate grant application, state scoring and policy.
Here you go.
Do we not
Keep
get
that for
that?
No.
No.
Okay. So many pretty
Here you
pictures.
go.
He knows our attention bandwidth, so he keeps it focused on what we need at that
No,
time.
it's really good, isn't it? Trying to take some notes here on that.
Thanks, please. Make sure I have one, because I need one. Thank you. Here's your policy.
Sent an email to him about that. Or not just now, but earlier. Here in public comment.
Okay, so in front of you is actually the application that will go out for FY 25-26. All of the recommendations for changes have been made and solidified. The only difference in this, what you saw the last meeting, is the fact that Jessica went back and made sure that all of the numbers, or Jessica and myself did, like section 1, that everything started to align better. and it is all in PDF format, so it is more easily available than last year's format. If you are to look on page 3, this is the timeline that Finance is suggesting. Proposals to be submitted between November 1st through the 29th. Proposal to be initially reviewed and scored for clarification December 2nd through the 13th. I would begin to seek clarification from the grant applicants on the 16th and 17th, with them formulating a response from December 17th through the 20th. All information would be submitted to you all by the 23rd. You all would have from December 23rd to January 14th to finalize your scores and hand them to me. There would be a special call meeting on January 16th to determine where the line is for the awards, and then I have to have it to Bethany on January 30th to put it into the upcoming budget discussions.
So we wouldn't see these until December the 23rd or December the 2nd?
You would technically see these coming back responses to grant
Christmas
accounts.
present.
You would see this coming up December the 2nd through the 13th would be your initial time. That's when you would actually have them in hand.
We got a month as well. That's not something we need to vote on or anything.
Making a recommendation so that way I can format it and get it out there.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Next up, policy for scoring and funding availability. This is what we went over last time. Nobody offered any suggestions or any changes, so therefore it's being presented to you a second time with a request to proceed forward to move it on to the budget committee.
Motion to approve, send this on to budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Last up is the scoring sheets. The scoring sheet had the 2 items being removed. The one that comes to mind is, do you believe this program should save a life? Because that was an arbitrary question, so therefore it was removed. And I am looking to move this forward to the budget committee.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously.
There's not a lot of changes from this one to the last one.
No.
And then we'll move on to item C, to give us an update on the remaining funds and recommendations to follow the policy of infrastructure for county departments.
Yes. So as you remember, the last time we have roughly $12,000 left, I was to go out to the drug. I just lost the name. I apologize, Josh and Megan and Charlotte, who are sitting back there making fun of me now.
Coalition.
To their group to ask for input. There was discussion about bringing in a speaker that could benefit those that are in rehab as well as the community and those that are actually healthcare professionals. We did identify one. However, there is 2 groups that are looking to maybe bring in a speaker with this next round of grant applications. So I've been asked not to proceed going down that venue. So we are requesting the $12,000 that is remaining to go towards the policy, which is to put naloxone and AEDs in county buildings. If we are to buy new ones, we would get roughly 4 new ones, I believe. And then if we were to get ones that are refitted, meaning that they have been used once or the batteries have gone bad and they have had to go in and fix it, then we could get it roughly at a third of that cost. So we would triple the amount of AEDs and naloxone that we can put in the county buildings.
And that would be your recommendation.
That's what I would do.
I like that, and I'll make the motion to do that.
Okay.
I would like to know also where we have devices, so we can see how much coverage we do have for future meetings, if you could bring that back.
That will happen for future meetings, and I am also aware of the risk management team who has expressed interest in applying for coverage for buildings that do not have any coverage for AEDs and naloxone, and I believe that Ms. Kim White will be reaching out to Eric's office to see how many that they would want as well, because I believe you all are sitting on like 2.
We bought a bunch out of
Yeah.
last year.
So
All the cars have them. Yeah, we have AEDs.
They have
Yeah.
one in this building.
Upstairs.
we have
We
2.
put a lot of ARPA money on that.
Yeah,
We really
every
covered
patrol
it.
car responder calls has an AED. Perfect. That's what I was gonna make sure.
For county buildings, when I talked about the plan for the state funds to continue the hospital partnerships, there is funding in there that's set aside for the naloxone machines. So because we would be already have those 2 in place, it would free up the funds. And for the state grant, I anticipate requesting additional AEDs and naloxone kits to be put in the buildings that we cannot put anything in at this time.
Do you have any resources for training of staff?
We did that.
So if you're looking for the training, Kim White and our dispatch team would do the AEDs. And then for our group, Sumner Prevention Coalition was addressed. They'll be doing a small training for us, hopefully in March, just to go over the basics as far as the opioids, what is actually hitting Sumner County, as well as how to use the naloxone. And we'll be moving in that form or fashion to help educate everybody, because as I have openly admitted, I am more focused on the grants and the finances than I am everything. So this will be a training opportunity for me as well.
So as I said, I'll make the motion to
Second.
take that to infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to the end of our agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Passes unanimously.
Thought you were gonna hold it up for a second.
Can I just tell you all, from working across the state, what you're doing is incredible. Working with communities and their settlement funds, just so you all know, you're way ahead of the curve. How you're doing this, how you're organizing it, I'm just super impressed. I'm texting my boss, Jennifer, like, you should have been here.
Oh, excellent. If you know anybody with extra money, send it on up. We'll take
That's what everybody is.
We'll take theirs too.
Yeah.
But also just, this